Good morning everyone. Today we're heading to Gangnam. Actually we wanted to check out the little stalls here first to maybe find a nice bag and go to an ATM to pick up some cash since we're going to go to a mall, and apparently it's easier if you have cash on hand. And then we're gonna head over to Gangnam and get a breakfast. So we found a nearby cafe which was absolutely beautiful, and they had super nice brunch options. So we just ended up eating there, and the owner was also super friendly. Food was great, so if you're in the area then I do recommend this. There was also, I think, a cacao friends store which had a collaboration with Genshin Impact, so we were thinking about going there, but then we saw that first of all you needed a reservation, and I was actually thinking of doing a reservation over Naver. It would have worked out, but then all the items were not really characters that I wanted, so instead we headed to our next scheduled thing, and it was the Goto shopping mall. It was under the week and in the morning, so I thought it might be like a little less crowded, but it is actually super crowded, and it was super tight spaces, which is why I ended up not filming, because you just couldn't. It was so crowded and packed. You should be happy if you can move through without bumping into anyone, which was basically impossible. It's like two alleys, so we walked one alley all the way down and the other one all the way up. Honestly, I couldn't find that many items, like basically nothing. I think I bought like 3 items, and I bought 2 items at the side of the Goto Mall at a store called Roem, and the other store ended up being one of my favorites, but it was not inside the Goto shopping mall, but just besides it. And I was kind of disappointed by the Goto shopping mall because everybody was like, okay, it's gonna be so cheap and you're gonna find so many nice options, and yeah, it was not really cheap. I think I found cheaper options at other places, and also the selection was not that great. So yeah, I don't think I really recommend going to the Goto Underground shopping mall if you want to do a lot of shopping. But we then headed to the Muni Cafe, which was closed to it and was super cute. I really liked the aesthetic, and the pastries were also really good. We are at this cafe called Muni, and it's basically a bakery. And it's funny because the outside looks really wild, like it's not matching at all. But let's start with the food. This is like a croissant with chocolate, and this is like a chocolate raspberry thing. I honestly have no idea what's gonna be in it, but yeah. And then we have a melon smoothie and a mango smoothie. From there on, we headed to like the building where the Gentle Monster flagship store is inside, as well as the Nudake Cafe. We actually did not go inside the cafe because we were already so full from the Muni Cafe since the pastries were quite big. So we just headed into the Gentle Monster store and had a look at all the items that they offer. It was very crowded again, but the aesthetic was beautiful. They had the Street Fighter collab going on, which was interesting to look at. So yeah, during the color analysis consultation, I did get some glasses recommended as well. Since I don't wear glasses, I only wear sunnies. I had a look at those, and I did find the pair that she recommended me, but honestly it just didn't suit me. It was way too big around here, so I was looking for some other items, and I ended up actually finding a pair that I kind of liked, but it wasn't a shape that I would usually wear, so I got kind of unsure if it actually fits my face or if that's a good option. So I put it aside and was like, okay, I can still buy it later on if I really want it, which ended up being wrong because it was a limited edition, and like 2 days later it was completely sold out at any of the stores that we were at. Then we also wanted to check this huge Daiso that everybody was talking about with 12 floors. And I love Daiso. I lived in Japan, so obviously I love Daiso. They have huge stores over there, so I was super excited to actually go into the Daiso in Korea as well. And also because it's such a huge store. Like, yeah, it had 12 floors, but those 12 floors, they were tiny. This is not a huge Daiso. This is just like a tall Daiso. So I was kind of disappointed. Also, it was super crowded, and we just ended up getting some snacks because it was so crowded. So obviously you couldn't move inside these small spaces. So I kind of went into the bed a little bit disappointed by the dice. So today we're heading out to see more of the like cultural and historical kind of things. Also gonna try on some hanbok and go to some cute cafes. So yeah, we woke up earlier than usual. We're leaving now at like 7:30 to hop on the bus. We started with Cafe Onion. We woke up pretty early so we won't have to line up, and we were really lucky. We got a good place outside as well, and we just enjoyed our food. I really liked the pastries there, and especially like the drinks. And yeah, the ambiance, it felt very comfortable and very nice. I really enjoyed it. When we left around, I think like 9 a.m. it was already a lot more crowded, and there were people lining up in front. So I do recommend, if you want to try out the cafe, to come earlier. Since it was our palace day, we wanted to get some hanbok, and we went to the hanbok because I've seen them a lot on like TikTok and Instagram, and it's always seemed very nice, and people were very like leaving good reviews. I'm kind of like 50-50 to the store. I have mixed feelings about it, I'm not gonna lie. The selection of hanbok were great, and I like that they offer men's as well as women's. We went there in the morning, though I thought it would be better, and actually when we returned there were a lot more people there, but there were only 2 employees, and I feel like they were very much overpowered by the amount of customers, and it was really difficult to get help. They were like, yeah, you can just search for a skirt by yourself, and then we will help you with the jacket, like the top part. So I searched for a skirt, and I actually got the premium one, which is even more expensive. So I was waiting for a lady to help me with the top, and she was obviously very busy, which I understand can happen, and there's a lot of other customers, so I was just waiting, and by that time Alex was already finished with his hanbok and I was not. And then at some point I finally got a top part, and I wanted to put it on, and then another lady was like, no, this is too big for you. I'm like, what do you mean? I thought they were all one size, and nobody told me there's different sizes. They also were not sorted after size, they were just sorted after design. So I was just like, well, okay. And then she was like, yeah, search again. So I did have to search everything again and start from the beginning again, basically, trying to find a skirt. And at that point I just searched for a top by myself, because it just, like, I spent so much time there. It was so crowded, I was squeezed in there. So yeah, did not really enjoy the part of getting dressed. Actually, it felt kind of rushed and not really customer appreciated. I think we paid together like 60,000 won, which is completely fine. The price is amazing for a whole day rental. You can't complain with that. So then we walked to the Bukchon Hanok village. I don't know if we were too early. It was 10 a.m. at that point, and we just walked around the 2 streets. I don't know, maybe I did something wrong, but there were only 2 streets where the Hanok village was. Obviously this is a place where people live, so you gotta be quiet, and respectful, which, please, if you're there are people living, respect the residents. But I was kind of disappointed by it, because like, I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting a village and not like 2 streets only. But we took some nice pictures, and the houses itself were very pretty. It's just that when you go into somewhere and expect something else, it's not like that, it's kind of disappointing, you know. So we walked back to Gyeongbukdong Palace, where of course the entrance is free with the hanbok. If you're there and you're wearing hanbok, you can go straight into the palace through the ticketing thing, and the people will just let you in. I do actually think that the palace was very beautiful. I was wearing the wrong pair of shoes, so my feet end up getting hurt a lot, which was exhausting and very tiring, and did not make the walk easier. I think it might be even more beautiful during spring or actual autumn, when the fall foliage is also full on. And if you're already wearing hanbok and it's free, I do recommend to check it out. And it was only like 12 p.m. I guess, and of course like all the plans for our day were already finished. So we went to Hongdae, which was the plan for our next day. Started with the Genshin cafe. It was Scaramouche themed, which was absolutely adorable, and we were hungry and actually quite excited to try some of the Genshin themed foods. And there was also a helper there. He was very kind and everything, but you couldn't order in the cafe. You had to pre-order at some kind of device thing where you also have to pay, and it did not accept my cards, like none of them. So if you have a foreign credit card, it just doesn't work. So we just went into this shop, which was also super disappointing. Like the merch, there was not a lot, like it was really just a few merch items, and yeah, not really great. So maybe you're lucky when you go in, the merch is actually better, but for us we were not that lucky. I only got one Tanari keychain, and what I didn't notice, and I noticed later, is that I lost my credit card there. I only noticed that at the next store when I wanted to pay that I did not have my credit card with me. So we had to run all the way back to the Genshin cafe, and of course you're stressed. Like I live in a country where when you lose your credit card, it's gone. There's no way you will not find it again. But luckily the store clerk at the Genshin cafe, she still had the credit card and everything was fine, so we could relax again. And we went into the Animate. They did have a pop-up cafe there as well, actually like two pop-up cafes. One was from a BL manhwa, but sadly none that I knew, and the other one was from New Carnival, which was wild because that is a mobile game that is definitely R18 or older. So I was quite shocked to see it being so open. They also had like tons of merch of that game in the Animate store. The Animate store is great if you do like Japanese manga. I was hoping to find more merchandise of their Korean manhwas and their webtoons and everything. Two tiny sections, one for solo leveling but also not that good merch, and one for the BL stuff, but also not a lot. We ended up finding some Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail merchandise, as well as towards the end of our travel we went there again. We found some Wuthering Waves merchandise as well. So we just finished our day with like walking down the streets of Hongdae and ended up getting some samgyeopsal, which was great. I really enjoyed that store. They had good meat, and maybe it was touristy, I don't know, but it was good food. And we just yeah, had a look at the street, watched the street performer, and then headed back to the hotel.